For 400 days, nobody could get within 2 feet of him without a warning hiss echoing through the entire shelter. Volunteers called him the Orange Problem. Staff warned every single visitor before they even rounded the corner, do not put your fingers near the bars, do not make eye contact, do not try to be the hero who finally gets through to him. He had been returned 3 separate times, and each family came back with the same worn-out sentence on their lips. He's unreachable. The first family gave him 2 weeks before dropping him off in a cardboard box, claiming he had attacked their child, though the scratch looked more like the boy had reached into a space where he should not have reached. The second family kept him 9 days and returned him at closing time on a Friday. The third did not even make it a full weekend. By the time I met him, he had been in that same corner cage for longer than any animal in the shelter's recorded history. His coat, which should have been the soft ginger color of autumn leaves, had gone dull and matted along the flanks where he refused to be groomed. His amber eyes had a flatness I had only seen in animals who had stopped believing anything good was coming. And yet, for all of that, he was still striking. A big mainecoon mix, easily 15 pounds, with a ruff of white fur running from his chin down to his chest, like the bib of an old gentleman who used to dress for dinner. If you've ever felt like the broken one in the room, the one everyone else politely avoided at the party, the one who got labeled before anyone bothered to ask your name, stay with me, because what this cat did on day 19 is something I still cannot fully explain. His name, according to the intake form, was supposed to be Biscuit, but nobody called him that anymore. The staff had quietly started referring to him as the Ginger, which was not cruel so much as careful. You do not name a cat you are starting to believe might live out his life in a cage. Then, one quiet Tuesday morning in late October, a woman named Clare walked past his enclosure on her way to the dog kennels, and something stopped her cold. She did not work at the shelter. She was there to drop off a donation of old towels her mother had left behind after passing in September. But she walked past that corner cage, and she just stopped. She told me later she did not know why. She said it felt like someone had put a hand on her shoulder and turned her around. She did not reach in, she did not speak to him, she did not do any of the things that well-meaning visitors always do, the things that made him hiss louder and retreat further. She just sat down on the concrete floor about 4 feet from the bars, and she opened a book she had in her tote bag. She sat there for 40 minutes. When she left, she did not say goodbye to him. She just stood up, brushed off her jeans, and walked out. The front desk volunteer told me Claire had tears running down her face, but she did not stop to talk to anyone. She came back the next day, and the next. By the 4th day, the staff had noticed. By the 7th day, they were leaving the chair near his cage out for her. She never once tried to touch him through the bars. She never cooed or clicked her tongue or held out her hand. She just sat there and read, sometimes out loud, sometimes in silence. She read him paperback mysteries and old travel memoirs, and one memorable afternoon, a cookbook for bread, pronouncing each ingredient out loud as though she were introducing him to each one. On day 11, he stopped hissing when she arrived. On day 14, he came out from the back corner of the cage and sat at the front, watching him with those flat amber eyes that had started, almost imperceptibly, to soften. On day 17, he did something none of us had seen him in over a year. He stretched, a long, full-body, belly-up stretch right there in front of her, as casual as a house cat on a sunny windsill. And on day 19, he walked to the bars and pressed his forehead against the metal directly across from her knee. He held it there. Clare, who had been reading a biography of some long-dead poet, set the book down very slowly. She did not reach for him. She leaned forward just a few inches, and she pressed her own forehead against the bar from the other side. They sat like that for a long time. The volunteer at the front desk, watching on the old monitor behind the counter, quietly turned around so no one would see her crying. The adoption paperwork took another 3 weeks, partly because Claire had to prove she had experience with difficult animals, and partly because the shelter director insisted on a home visit, which had never been required before, but suddenly seemed necessary for this specific cat. The night Claire finally carried him out, half the staff gathered around that old monitor, convinced he would panic the second the carrier zipped shut. They had bets going. They had a backup plan involving a towel and a sedative and a very apologetic phone call. None of it was needed. He walked into the carrier on his own, he curled into a loaf in the back corner, and when Claire picked up the handle and lifted him off the ground, he let out one long, low sound that was not a hiss and not quite a purr, but something in between. The sound, I think, of a creature who has been waiting 400 days for exactly this moment and can't quite believe it has finally arrived. I did not hear from Claire for almost 6 months. Then, one morning, I opened my phone and saw a photograph that had been shared to the shelter's page so many times it had essentially broken the internet of our small rural county. It was him, the same cat, the dangerous one, the unreachable one, the 3 families had returned and the shelter staff had quietly stopped naming. He was balanced on the front edge of a canoe, his paws resting on the gunwale, wearing a small pink harness with a leash trailing back to Claire's hand. Behind him stretched a lake so still it was holding a perfect reflection of the clouds. His amber eyes were no longer flat, they were focused, alert, curious, watching the water like he owned the entire lake and was simply deciding out of generosity to let the rest of us visit. The comments under that photograph flooded with one question asked over and over again by strangers from every corner of the country. How? How did she do it? How did a cat who hissed at the world for 400 days end up on a canoe? But I think they were asking the wrong question. The question is not how she did it. The question is why nobody else did. She was not a trainer, she was not a behaviorist, she was a grieving woman with a bag of old towels, 40 free minutes, and the willingness to sit on a concrete floor and do absolutely nothing, except be there. So here is mine for you, the question I keep turning over in my head on the nights I cannot sleep. If you had been the one walking past his cage that quiet Tuesday morning in late October, carrying your own grief and your own donations and your own reasons not to stop, would you have sat down on the floor beside him, or would you have kept walking?